I wish I had recorded this sooner, but I decided to take a rose that was really fading and it was on its last legs and kind of press some of the color out, which made all these really dark purple lines because I smashed it between these two pieces of watercolor paper with a hammer. But then the petals were still there and I grabbed them and pinched them and I got a drip of color out of them. This is what's left because I've squeezed them to death. So I squeezed it out and I said, wait, let me put that. Oh, look, there's one more drop. Let me put that in this tray. Oops. Now I just dropped it in there. Oh, maybe I should leave it in there. Look, it's oozing. So I dropped it in this tray, rinsed the heavy color off my fingers in there. I see I got some extra around. And then I went out looking for my gum arabic because I wanted to see, can I make this into watercolor? And if I leave these petals in here, will it get richer? Because it was very purple before I added the gum arabic. So now I'm going to squeeze it out some more. I wanted to save the color. And then the color was very, very purple. You can see because I started it in this dish right here. And you can see the purple. So it was much more purple. And then when I put it in this dish and added the gum arabic, it became this really pretty pink. I'm probably going to have some debris in it, but you know what? I really don't care. So let me put those aside and quit playing with that. And you can see all this nice purple on here where I've wiped my fingers. And depending on when I wiped my fingers, it's whether it's more purple or more pink. It's just amazing. So now I want to try it out. And gum arabic, if you're not familiar, is what you mix with dry paint to keep it from just soaking into the paper and the color not really showing. Because I tried that before. It doesn't work. Look at that pretty color. And it's all that much prettier because I know where it came from. From my rose. So now I'm going to wait and see how it dries. Can you go back over it with another layer? Can you make it darker like you do with watercolor? Does it dry the same color, or does it just go away? So we're going to find out all those things over time, I guess, this morning, while I see if I can get a little bit more pigment off this plate. I am just so impressed. It makes me want to go out and cut all my roses. Of course, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I should do a line, a couple lines, and then I can see if I add to that, will it make more? So we'll check back. Well, I've gone back over this flower, and when I went over it with the watercolor I made from the rose petals, it was pink like these little second marks that I made on top of the flower I had already done, and like the second pass on this line and this line, you can see it's pink. So it paints on pink, this color, but when it dries, it turns to this. So I filled in where there was just white on those petals, except for right there, filled in the white with a extra brush of this because I wanted to see how different it would be. And it turned purple, just like when I squeezed the rose petals and mashed them onto the paper before I made the drips. I had painted with the actual petals, and it was pink, and now it's turned purple. It's very cool. I'm just loving this study of rose petal color. So now I'm going to do one more coat because all of these are dry, and you can see that the second layer dried the pinker color. So now I feel like I should have painted more and then done a third to see what it would do. Now I'm gonna get a little more on here. Especially on this one, and this is the third coat. So that's the third coat on that line. So we'll see if it makes a difference. It might just be two that make the difference. Do a little more on some that are already done, and then maybe do a few more. So we'll see how this does and come back to it again. I made this little petal. Let's see. Accent one side of it. See how that does. I'm absolutely loving the way this rose paint turned out. You can see the purple, you can see the pink, and then you can see it go to that nice lavender color. And then when you paint that next layer on, it makes it a little bit more rosy again. So I suggest you experiment with your dying flowers and just give them another life. Happy painting.